A heartbreaking and courageous interview with Denise Fergus, 30 years after the murder of her 2-year-old son, James Bulger. His abduction and torture by two 10-year-olds, Robert Thompson and John Venables, in February 1993 sent shockwaves throughout the country. The harrowing images of little James holding the hand of a bigger boy, being led trustingly from a Liverpool shopping centre, was seared into the minds of an entire generation. The case raised far-reaching questions about the age of criminal responsibility and exactly what kind of society we had become. And at the centre of it all, James's mother, Denise, who'd lost her baby in the most harrowing and public way. She was determined to see justice done, and her campaigning was instrumental in finally getting victims' voices heard in court. But Denise is still fighting for change. She told me of the guilt and regret that still haunt her, and she shared her memories of her precious boy.
He was just so breathtaking. He had lovely soft hair. He didn't walk anywhere, he was always running. His hair would bounce all over the place, and it's just, you know, I can still see the smile on his face with the bouncing hair, because that's all he ever did, was smile. Absolutely amazing little boy.
And 30 years has passed since that terrible day.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like 30 years. You know, it just seems so fresh.
Police are visiting hundreds of houses on Merseyside tonight, looking for any clue into the killing of 2-year-old James Bulger.
It was a crime that horrified and transfixed the nation.
If you've got me, baby, just come back.
The abduction and murder of a 2-year-old boy, tortured and killed, it emerged almost unbelievably by children. Two 10-year-old boys who lured James Bulger from the safety of his mother's side in a Merseyside shopping centre.
It was just that split seconds where I went to pay for something, look back down, he'd gone. It was just a split second. And I think that's going to live with me for the rest of my life. But the only two to blame were them two. They had no right to take him from me in the first place.
You do still have very dark times. You're quite honest about that, aren't you?
In the beginning, I mean, after losing James, I got pregnant with Michael. Michael pulled me through a dark, dark place. It was that dark, whereas I didn't want to be here anymore. I wanted to be where James was.
You went on to have 3 sons after James was taken. Yeah. How did you manage to bring up your boys with any sort of balance? How could you let them go off and do anything normal?
No, I wouldn't let them go out. I wouldn't let them play with the friends. It was so hard for me, and I think the lads realise now why I was like that. It's only now that I've got to let them go. I've got to, you know, I've realised I can't keep them under my roof forever.
On the day that James went, you would have perhaps thought, not unreasonably, life couldn't get any worse. But you had to go through continued horror.
The fight still continues. Until I get justice for James, it will do.
That battle, now decades long, over the 8-year sentence she felt was too short, over the constant feeling that her pain was not considered, her voice not heard.
Well, I was always let down. Everything that I tried to do, you know, I just felt like I wasn't listened to, wasn't heard. They didn't want to know. The police did come round and they said they're going to get released. And I just sat there and I thought, well, where do I go from here? They're going to get properly protected. They're going to get looked after.
Change of identity and everything.
Yeah, everything. How do I not know they're not going to go back to James's grave? And I did say, do you know, they will re-offend. I said, and do you know when they do, it's blood on your hands.
And just as Denise feared, Venables did indeed go on to re-offend, caught with images of child sex abuse twice.
I'm hoping that Venables never is released. He thinks he's untouchable. That's what he thinks. And he probably thinks in the next few months he'll probably be walking a free man again. And I'm fighting so hard that doesn't happen. I know a lot of people say forgiving is a healer, but I don't think it is. I'll never forgive them.
The fight goes on. She wants parole reform and a public inquiry into James's case.
I don't want any other family to go through what I've had to go through.
Thanks to Denise's campaigning, victim impact statements are now heard in court.
It is helping a lot of people. You know, that's what I've always wanted, is to help other people. I want my bad experience, I want to make it easier for them with the impact statements.
And if the Denise of now could speak to the Denise of 30 years ago, what would you say? What would she say?
I would have said he should have kept hold of his hand. But how can you do that and take your purse out at the same time? It's just impossible.
Have you found happiness? Have you found peace?
I'm in a really good place. And I have been for the past few years. You know, just looking at my family, you know, I'm blessed with that. And, you know, the granddaughter we've got now. But I'll always be James's voice. I'll always be there to fight James's corner.